Welcome to part 2 of the series on polarization and political divide. In this episode, we will delve into the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on polarization, and I will give you some unsolicited advice on how you can contribute on solving this issue. Please like and subscribe, tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of my episodes, and leave a comment and enjoy the video.
You can have a respectful, interesting conversation with someone you disagree with, and you could say, okay, well, why do you think that? Like, what's your thought process behind that? Like, why do you think that's going to achieve this certain result?
I'll be honest, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but on January 20th, I said, you know what, I hope he does the best job. Just like President Obama did, I said, I hope he does, because I have to put my faith in the office of the president, regardless.
This is what it means to work together for a better civic society. And
this year is a moment of reflection for Northern Ireland, and standing here in 2023, it's hard to describe.
Just skipping over COVID-19 and not holding it in any regard whatsoever while making this video is stupid. In my mind, there is a world before and after COVID, and I think this is the case for many others too. I mean, how many stories have we heard about families ripped apart because of vaccination statuses?
The World Health Organization has officially declared the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, known as COVID-19, a pandemic.
Now just relax.
No, I don't need a mask.
One study concludes by saying that polarized attitudes towards COVID-19 measures were largely influenced by two factors, namely, that partisans consume different media, and that partisans interpret facts about COVID-19 differently depending on their political ideology. What is also interesting is that compliance with COVID measures were largely influenced by the level of risk aversion and risk-taking. And an interesting thing to note here is that it has been found that conservatives are willing to take a risk if that means the outcome will be higher, and liberals will take a risk when the perceived risk is low. This, however, in regard to starting a business, so I'm not quite sure if I can apply this analogous to COVID, but I thought it was interesting to note. I wasn't able to find any papers or research on the effect of COVID-19 on society as a whole in regards to polarization, specifically in our present era. However, in March 2021, a paper was published saying that COVID was likely to intensify already existing social divides. And this doesn't sound too weird, considering that in a matter of weeks, people were out of jobs, people were being isolated, and that has its effect on society, of course. What makes this problematic is that the COVID crisis disproportionately affected people that were less affluent. It also created divides in education levels. People with higher educations, usually working office jobs, worked from home, and those who were working manual jobs or those labeled as essential workers simply couldn't. Also, the language used plays a huge role. If political parties and politicians were to create an us against the pandemic way of thinking instead of an us versus them way of thinking, thereby creating a superordinate goal, polarization could have been mitigated. And I'm not quite sure whether that's the case now. What you also have to keep in mind is that public opinion is very dependent on the affiliation with a certain party. More on that later. But anyway, so in the UK, leftists were more critical of the handling of COVID than leftists have been in the US.
You're a strange Marxist to have a discussion with. And, well, but here's why. This is not an insult by any stretch of the imagination.
The signing of the document on human fraternity.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live.
It is easy to describe a problem without giving a solution, and I have come up with some solutions to the issue that is polarization. One solution would be to be cautious with labeling policies as inherently left-wing or inherently right-wing, because this confirms biases people hold towards either side of the political aisle. What was found, for example, and this is very interesting, was that 2,000 people were presented with a moral violation by different actors. It was thought that some moral violations would be held in significance more by one group than the other. The result, however, was that people didn't find the moral violation itself to be important, but the allegiance to either the Democrat or Republican Party. Democrats gave other Democrats a pass, and the same went for Republicans. There are several ways to mitigate the problems we face in regards to polarization. For one thing, we could try and engage in conversations in which we see each other's perspectives and are genuinely listening to each other's stories without trying to absolutely destroy someone with facts and logic. No, actually do use facts and logic, but leave out the destroying part. You see, the goal of ideological or political discourse shouldn't be to make someone look like a clown, but to understand each other and see where we actually can find common ground, and sometimes by putting aside our differences and having a sense of superordinate goals that are such that they need bridging over small issues in order to take on the larger issues we are facing today. If someone does make themselves look like a clown, that's on them. But who died and said you never cringed about yourself from the past? Keep in mind that we are all trying to learn, and that it is the process of teaching and learning that should be the priority, not owning and dunking on the opponent. That will only drift us further apart. Also, and this is some very important advice, I think, challenge your own ideological views by engaging in conversation with the opposing ideology and reading about and watching something that maybe completely will destroy your worldview. Then come back and try to call other people stupid. Thank you so much once again for watching. Please like, leave a comment and subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you won't miss any of my content. Talk to y'all later.